Have you ever wondered what it would be like to not know who you are and where you belong? We are meeting a girl called Anna today. She is going to tell us some interesting things about her day to day life, which might look a little different from yours. Let's start by reading the first page. There are times when Anna feels like a bird. It is the birds, after all, that fly north in the spring and south every fall, chasing the sun, following the warmth. Her family is a flock of geese, beating its way there and back again. What would it be like to stay in one place? To have your own bed, to ride your own bicycle? Anna wonders. Now that would be something. The author tells the story centered around the character Anna. She comes from a low Mennonite community from Mexico and travels to Canada each year with her family who are seasonal migrant workers. The fictional narrative explores the themes of identity, belonging, and stability in life. Throughout the story, Anna's self-identity is associated with migratory animals, including a bird, a rabbit, and a bee. Identity is a central theme in the text that signifies the young migrant's uncertainty and confusion about her sense of self. This is closely related to the theme of belonging. Anna does not understand the language that people speak in Canada, so to her ears, it is as though 1,000 crickets are all singing a different song. She wants to know what it would be like if she were a tree with roots sunk deeply into the earth, belonging to one place and having a real home rather than traveling back and forth between two countries. As such, Anna wonders what a life of stability might look like, a life where she has her own bed and her own bicycle, watching the seasons come and go, rather than coming and going with them. Anna is frequently described as a jackrabbit that lives in an abandoned burrow throughout the text. As the word abandoned has a negative connotation, we can interpret that Anna feels vulnerable, isolated, and confused, constantly questioning herself where she truly belongs. She is longing for a sense of security and comfort at a place where she can permanently settle in. The author's representation of Anna sheds light on the common experiences of a migrant who struggles to find themselves within an unfamiliar environment. As we see images of the jackrabbit hopping away, we recognize that this relates to Anna's desire for freedom and escape from her mundane life that has become a barrier to her carefree childhood, such as experiencing unsuitable living conditions and harvesting crops in the fields due to being part of the lower class. Anna's point of view is reiterated through third-person narration. The narrator is external to the story and draws empathy from the readers, allowing them to learn more about the world through the author's description of the character's perspective. As shown in the direct quotes, the author has used a wide range of literary devices, including rhetorical questions, similes, and metaphors, to enhance imagery and signify the book's poetic nature. Students make text-to-self and text-to-world connections, which enable them to consider diverse perspectives of individuals. They understand that perspectives shape the way they see themselves and the world as they engage deeply with the text. Students achieve this by developing empathy and building an intercultural understanding while reading about the struggles that Anna experienced as a migrant. They also explore and appreciate new perspectives by delving deeper into the history of labor migration as presented in the text. Anna, the main character, is a salient figure in the story as she is an effective representation of an innocent child immigrant who struggles to adapt to their surroundings. Her character is illustrated through the textual concepts, words, and images. The absence of dialogues in the book signifies Anna's internal characteristics, such as her timid and contemplative nature. Emotive language has been used, such as shy, to emphasize character attributes. Figurative language, including similes and metaphors, are highly evident, intended to evoke strong imagery that portrays Anna as a rootless outsider. The images depict Anna as an animal, the symbolic visual representation, allowing students to understand how it relates to the character's complex self-perception and her search for identity. The setting is strongly related to the focused topic of migration. The story takes place in a rural area or a farming community in Canada, where Anna and her family reside temporarily as migrant farmers. The story is most likely set in the early 20th century as Mexicans from the working class were seeking employment opportunities in other countries during this time. The author's portrayal of the setting, which is highly appropriate to the story's context, enables students to create a realistic picture of their work environment. The visual elements in the image provide a clear illustration of Anna's close bond with her family, signifying resilience and unity during challenging times. This is exemplified in the foreground, where Anna and her family are holding hands and walking in a straight line, creating a visual flow from left to right. This visible vector then directs our reading path to the boy in the background. Anna and the boy become the salient figures of the image as we observe the way they interact by making eye contact. Anna is looking back at the boy, the offer gaze allowing us to interpret that she is feeling self-conscious about the way she looks different from him. The colors in the image pose interesting questions about symbolism. The pale monochrome hues of the boy's clothing strongly contrasts with Anna's bright orange dress. This contrast in color symbolizes the difference in their cultural identities. The boy is wearing a cap and is in a casual outfit, whereas Anna is wearing her traditional headscarf and clothing. These are my favorite words from the book because the personification achieves vivid imagery and successfully draws an emotional response from the readers. This is the only personification that is evident in the text, so these words stood out from the rest and made it a more memorable reading experience for me. When I read these words, I was able to make text-to-self connections. It reminded me of the time when I also felt left out and confused as a young migrant who couldn't speak and understand English. For the language study lesson, students will be completing an activity in which they explore the author's use of figurative language. Students will be put into groups of 5. Each group will be given a copy of the text and a visual aid, or photo print. In their groups, students will examine the photo and look through the text to find the words that relate to the photo. For example, if a group is given a picture of a jackrabbit, they will find the words "Anna feels like a jackrabbit" from the text. Students will then record their responses on the worksheet and share their responses with their group members, thinking critically about the purpose and effect of the literary devices. For this lesson on creative writing, students will learn to make text-to-world connections by writing a diary entry from Anna's perspective. After deconstructing the sample diary with students, each student will be provided with a copy of the text, a writing checklist, and a planning scaffold to write their draft. They will show their understanding of the text by writing about Anna's experiences as a young migrant, using relevant words and ideas from the text. For this lesson on oral work, students will learn to make text-to-self connections with a focus on the theme of belonging. Students turn and talk to share about their experiences which are similar to the struggles that Anna faced. They will write about their experiences using their mini whiteboards or English workbooks. Students will then verbally present their work to a partner that has been chosen at random, using appropriate performance features. Once they have presented to each other, they will also use the sentence starters, as seen at the bottom of the slide, to guide their discussion and self-reflection about how their experiences are similar or different to each other. To support students, explicitly teach subject-specific vocabulary by providing simple alternative definitions of similes and metaphors. Support ELD students' learning with visual aids accompanied by visual prompts. To extend students, encourage them to expand on their point by incorporating appropriate subject-specific vocabulary into their responses. Challenge them to annotate and edit their work using direct quotes from their book and providing feedback to their peers. Migrant by Issa Watanabe is a wonderful related text as it is a unique wordless picture book that explores the focus topic of migration. The text consists of thought-provoking images that will facilitate meaningful classroom discussions about the challenges faced and overcome by migrants. The non-fiction, Voices from the Fields by S. Beth Atkin, is particularly useful for building further text-to-world connections. The text features photographs, poems, and interviews that reveal the hardships of Mexican migrant farm workers and their families, which is similarly presented in the focus text. Students will extend their knowledge and understanding of the history of migration in a real-world context by studying this book. The cross-curricular activity will be a history lesson about the Mennonites, which the text was inspired by. Students will watch an introductory video about the Mennonites and read the author's note to have a shared discussion about how the figures have been portrayed in the text. As a consolidation task, students will create a PowerPoint presentation in pairs to demonstrate their historical understanding of the text.